This thing on? Are we here? We live? We good? We good, baby. We good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I decided to bring you guys a video what's going on in the comp landscape and just talk to you guys a little bit. It's been a while since I made a video on this channel. I've been pretty, I would say, uninspired, unmotivated, but that would kind of be wrong because I have been doing things. I was coaching players. I was showing players these things. I'm currently not doing that right now. I kind of want to focus on content for a little bit and kind of show my skill a little bit more, if I can show you guys that, and kind of give myself a little bit of the highlight. I've been extremely busy coaching other players, scouting other players. I've watched every Valorant game known to man, and I'm a little burnt out, or I was a little burnt out, and making videos after coaching 8 to 9 hours a day, plus playing the game and playing Elden Ring and stuff like that. It just, content just wasn't something that I was really trying to do at the moment. But with coaching kind of taking a back seat for a little bit until the next VCT, I kind of want to just sit here and let you guys know where I'm at and what's going on. But today's topic of the video is not just that. Today we're going to be talking about OpTic. And the reason that I started this video off talking a little bit about me is because of the way OpTic has had such a profound influence on my gaming career. And this is the best that I felt in terms of rooting for OpTic and being a supporter of OpTic, a longtime supporter of OpTic, for all this time since, I would say, Infinite Warfare, when OpTic won Infinite Warfare. To me, Masters, and even though I know it's not the biggest tournament of the year, Champions is, and winning Champions obviously would be the biggest one, but Masters is one of those things where winning it is no slouch. I mean, you're essentially winning a world title. You are, because you're competing with everybody on an international grand stage there. And to me, anytime you compete on an international grand stage and you win, it's massive. This is just the equivalent of winning a major in CS. And to me, this is the equivalent of winning a COD Champs in Call of Duty. And the reason I say that is because Call of Duty isn't as big as the game of Valorant in every country at all. Like, it's by far none. Valorant is way bigger than Call of Duty in other countries than Call of Duty would be in theirs. I think Call of Duty really only dominates in America, the UK, well, I'll just say Europe, and then you have Australia every now and then who produces a good team, and that's pretty much it for Call of Duty. Now, in Valorant and in games like this, everybody around the world is playing this game. We've seen Japan, we've seen Asia, or Southeast Asia. We obviously, sadly, don't get to see China. At the same token, not really much we can do there. We didn't get to see a lot of Russian teams, which I will talk about later on in another video. But right now, it was just great to see. I enjoyed it. And OpTic winning it, NA winning it, but most importantly, OpTic winning it, is such a great token and a great love that I have, man. I just want to say shout out to Hex, shout out to Hastr0, shout out to all those people, Chet and all those boys, Food, Victor, and all them guys. They deserved it. They played so well. And I'll make another video just going really into depth about strategy, but today it's kind of an overarching thing. And today I wanted to talk about OpTic Gaming being the biggest mega super team, I guess you could call it, of all time. And I'm not just talking about Valorant. I'm not just talking about Call of Duty. I'm talking about any esport, any team of all time. OpTic, again, stands head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. Now, why is that? Why would I bring up my history? Why would I bring up my past? Why would I talk about these things when I'm talking about a Valorant tournament win or when I'm talking about OpTic? And that simply comes because I just don't think many people understand my history. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a brief rundown with that. I have been an OpTic supporter. I don't like the word fan. I've never liked the word fan. It's just not something that I really enjoy. It's just not my cup of coffee, I guess you could call it. But I have been a supporter of OpTic since the first day the Rage versus OpTic scrim came out. It was a competitive sniping video. I'll leave a link in the description to it below, maybe, if you guys want to check it out. But you can type in OpTic versus Rage and COD 4, and you'll see that. I watched that video, and I was into competitive sniping ever since. I was a part of some really big teams that I don't care to mention right now about competitive sniping that I kind of leave in my past. Like I said, if you were part of the Modern Warfare 2, COD 4, World at War lobbies back then, I'm pretty sure all of us kind of want to stay a little bit low. Those things got really toxic. Not saying that I did anything too crazy, but it just wasn't the highlight of my career. I've been competing and doing these tournaments and coaching, anything to do with competitive, since 2006 in Halo 2, which was my first tournament. And I've been doing it off and on ever since. And I've been doing it for the last, what has it been, 5 years? 5 or 6 years? nonstop, every day, pretty much all the time. And I just wanted to say that, again, seeing OpTic back on top was a really rewarding experience. But I've been watching OpTic and Envy since they were pretty much formed. You know, I want to say since they were formed because I wasn't actually there or on the team or anything, but I've been watching them forever, and I have never rooted for anybody else other than OpTic when they went back to Chicago, and that's because I'm from Dallas, and I root for everything Dallas, and Envy had the spot in Dallas, and so I wasn't going to go out of my way to root for OpTic when Dallas was my hometown. Dallas always comes first. And it kind of sucked going from OpTic to Envy, but OpTic had got disbanded, which, again, is a whole nother topic. But that was the only time, was when Chicago OpTic was a thing of Call of Duty. And I don't even watch Call of Duty anymore, so I don't even care. But where I'm going with this, where I'm putting this is OpTic Gaming, where it is now, is the most powerful organization and more powerful than it's ever been. And the reason I say that is because of two names. Hector Hex Rodriguez and Mike H3CZ. I always butcher that name. Excuse me if I butcher it, Hastro. These two people are the forerunners to me, some of the forerunners, there's others as well, of esports. The reason FaZe is even a thing is because of these gentlemen. The reason FaZe is even like the way it is now is literally Hex putting them on his top 5, top 10 showcase. But again, I'm not even trying to discredit anything to do with FaZe. The FaZe boys have done a great job as well. But almost every esport that you see right now is an offset of what these two gentlemen have done and how they've progressed it forward. Now, League has been a thing forever. We all know that. So League is a whole nother thing in and of itself. We kind of like to leave League out of it, even though they have been around. But League of Legends, even being in that sense, still has a great impact from OpTic. I mean, OpTic is just a massive, massive team in its own right. And in my opinion, is the greatest organization in the history of esports across all esports. And what makes them so special is at one point you had Hastro and you had Hex, which were these two dominant figures, but they specialize in two different aspects. If you're around during the early days of OpTic was really content heavy. Now, they've always been competitive. I don't want to say they don't compete. They're not a competing team. They always have. Ever since the Frag Cups back in the Machinima days in Modern Warfare 2, they have been a super big force in competing. And I don't want to say that they have never been a competitive team, but Hex has always been a content creator. Look at his content. Go look at his YouTube channel. Go look at him talk on Twitter. He's always talking about content. The dude is a maestro, a master, a connoisseur of content. I've always loved Hex content. One of the biggest inspirations for me to do content as well. He is massive. He's big time. Show money. All right. But when it comes to esports, when it comes to actually winning in an esports. But if you hear or have been in esports, you know that Hex has been content. But Hastro was always more of the competitive person. We all remember the days of the E-Classico, right? The E-Classico, that great thing that no longer is around today, sadly. The OpTic and the Envy rivalry. It was a healthy, good rivalry, but they were always competing against each other. Everybody was really good friends, but it was a good competitive nature. And OpTic had always had this sense to them that they were playing catch up to Envy in terms of winning, in terms of championships. And the reason that this was that Hastro was just primarily focused on winning championships. He was just, look, all that matters is winning. And I'm not saying Hex never says that, but he was always predicated on winning and content second, whereas I always said Hex was kind of content first, winning pretty much second. And again, I don't want to sound disrespectful about this. I know Hex is about winning, but again, guys, if you just look at his actions and what he's done, there's nothing wrong with that. He's grown OpTic into a formidable force, but content is where he specializes, and that's his focus. And so today, I wanted to talk about how they got brought together, how when Hastro and OpTic came together, that I said this everywhere across the media, across everything, that this was formidable. Because what you were essentially combining was the brains and the competitiveness of Hastro and the content of OpTic, and even the brains and the competitive of OpTic together into one. And it's kind of sad we don't really have Envy as a force anymore. You know, we don't have like the actual Envy team, which is, you know, pretty sad to see. But I mean, the benefits of bringing together and colliding just were massive. That I don't know who would say no to that, right? Hastro couldn't say no to that, you know, but OpTic just cemented yet again how dominant they are from top to bottom. A lot of people are going to make this about how great the Valorant team is, and rightfully so. They are phenomenal, and we will get to that in another video. But that is not why OpTic is so dominant. That is not why OpTic is as great as they are alone. OpTic is great across many of titles because of the vision of the people who have came before them and the people who set the stones. And to that, I just want to, give a clap, and I just want to say thank you for just being a supporter and being able to watch. I've intermingled with Hex many of times. I've seen, Hastr0 many of times at these LANs. I've competed all the time across many of titles, seeing them. They are swell gentlemen. They have, shared a lot of insight with me, and all I can say is thank you for both of them. But I'm not here to talk just about that. I'm here to talk about how dominant and how great this esports team is. And I think we should all, as competitors, as coaches, as players, strive to really use them as, not just motivation, but inspiration. And I cannot tell you guys, watching this weekend, how great of a time that it was watching them. And just going back through those days of just, man, it felt like the glory days again. And for those of you who don't know, or maybe weren't there during Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, when OpTic won their first title and cemented themselves as the greatest dynasty, in the history of Call of Duty, they went up against Envy, who at the time, in my opinion, was the greatest dynasty. Now, I'm not just talking about roster, but I'm talking about esports team. Envy was in a finals like every other year. They were always in COD Champs finals, always, all the time. And it felt like right at the last moment, right when you would count them out, they would make these runs and they would be in the championship. It's like every other year this was happening, or every year it was happening. Whereas OpTic always seemed to kind of falter. They would make all these great runs through the regular season and through like the minor championships going up to COD Champs. And as soon as COD Champs would hit, they just wouldn't turn that edge or wouldn't turn the point. And it's like they forgot it was a marathon, not a sprint. And that year, that didn't happen. And it was crazy because they ran into Envy in the championship, and people were saying, yo, this is the time to really pit who is the greatest dynasty. Now, it's unfortunate that we had to watch Infinite Warfare for a whole year. I didn't watch Infinite Warfare at all that year. I was stuck on COD 4 Modern Warfare Remastered. I call it COD 4. People call it MWR. I'm always going to call it COD 4 no matter what. But again, two separate games in my opinion. But again, just Modern Warfare Remastered. I did watch from here or there, but I did not like Infinite Warfare at all. I don't really know who does. I don't even think the pros enjoyed it. It was not a fun game to play. Nobody really liked it. But where I'm bringing this in and where I'm meshing this all together is when you guys think about the history of these two organizations, the greatest rivalry in the history of esports. When you think about these things, for them to have meshed and to merge together, who wouldn't have thought they would win a championship? Who wouldn't have thought they would be this great? I mean, look at their Call of Duty roster. I don't know much about Vanguard. I haven't played Vanguard at all, other than like a little bit of the beta. I don't even know how that game works. But if you just take a look at the dominant force that the Shotzi, Scump, Illy, and I mean, just look at Dashi. I mean, these guys are formidable. Bringing them together was an automatic W. Look at the combination of Ye, Victor, FNS, Marv. I mean, Marv was the best player at the tournament, hands down. Hands down. You know what I mean? And some of that is because of Ye's great ethics and FNS's strat calling. I mean, again, they all piggyback off each other. But who wouldn't have thought they would win a championship? And it always makes me laugh when I come out onto the esports scene. And I'm pretty quiet about these things where I don't really get too, emotional about them. I just kind of try to stay to the strategy of them. But I'm here to talk my shit. This is my video to talk my shit and to be like, go through all my competitive videos, go watch them all through the VOD reviews of last year. Go watch them all. Whether you hated them or loved them, I know the last one that I talked about, even though it was spot on correct about 90% of the stuff, I probably got downvoted to shit. Don't really care. I stated from the beginning I was going for Envy, and then when they merged with OpTic, I was going with OpTic. I've been riding with FNS and these boys this whole time, and I've been saying this the whole time that they were the best, in my opinion, the best Valorant roster assembled. I think they needed to get over a hump, and I think that hump was when they beat H3CZ, or lost to X10 in Champions, but beat H3CZ this time. When they beat H3CZ, when they did that, I completely said it all everywhere, anywhere, and anybody who would listen. I said, they're going to win. The reason for this is because OpTic as a whole always has this hump. It's kind of like an energy that kind of follows them, a paradigm that follows them, that they always have to get over this hump. And that's something that great teams always have to do. They have to get over that one hump that they just feel like they can never do. And this is a life lesson for us all. And something maybe I've had to get over is we all have to get over these humps and these challenges and these obstacles. But there is this one obstacle that the entirety of humanity faces, or that the entirety of all of us face together, that is so great. And I would call that sin, obviously being a Bible believer, but you can call it, whatever you want to call it. Your beliefs are irrelevant on the channel. You know what I mean? We're here to talk esports, but there's always a hump that somebody has to get over and that we have to, you know, basically build a bridge. But once we build that bridge and we get over it, it's a clear path, baby. Now, I'm not saying this hard work is done. I'm not saying OpTic season is done. No, this is the beginning. This is the first Masters. OpTic needs to seek and destroy. But I also understand the context of the tournament. I understand what happened during the tournament with Gambit, you know, obviously not being there with the Russia things. You know, that probably was a distraction for them the whole time. Or how Fun Plus Phoenix wasn't able to attend. And I said this all the way last year that Fun Plus Phoenix was going to be the best team in EU at a time. They took longer than I thought they would, but they're finally getting it together. A couple roster changes really made them formidable. But Fun Plus Phoenix is still the best team in EU, hands down. You can just watch any of their games. They are the best. But there were no slouches in EU. G2 was full force, and G2 was the second best team in Masters, or second best team in EU for Masters. I mean, it was that simple, and they were the best team to show up. Fnatic obviously had some gaping holes, and I mean, Liquid didn't make it very far either. Liquid did what they usually always do. So you don't really have an asterisk there. As like I said, I understand that there are political situations going on and ramifications happening. However, we can only control what we can control. And OpTic came out and solidified. And Loud is a great team. Okay, Loud is a fantastic team, but OpTic solidified that all because you beat them once doesn't mean you're gonna beat them again. And not only are you gonna beat them once, if they lose, they're going to come back and whoop that ass. Like, they came back and solidly, handedly beat both teams that they lost to in this tournament. I mean, kudos to OpTic. Again, kudos to OpTic. But again, what I wanted to talk about was we called this. We said this. And I'm going to give myself some time. You know, as humble and humility is always the key. Confidence is the lock. I want to give my time to say this, and I want to give the OpTic green wall, everybody who's been riding through this with me, who's been a great supporter for a long time like we have, especially since the beginning of Valorant. I've been rooting for that MV team over and over again. I said FNS was the best strat caller years ago. Years ago, I said FNS was the best in the game, the best IGL in the game. Everybody thought I was crazy. Other than Gambit's IGL, I said he is the greatest IGL in NA. OpTic has been the best team in NA the whole time. They have been the most consistent. They have never, ever been out of the top 3 of NA ever. They've showed up to every massive tournament. They have performed in every massive tournament besides Champions. And again, that's a whole nother, you know, thing. You know, obviously nobody showed up for NA and Champions other than Cloud9. Kudos to Cloud9 for it. But at the same time, you know, nobody really showed up, you know. It is crazy to think about that there are people in this community in Valorant who claim to be a part of this or came to be a part of esports and think they know a lot, who didn't predict this happening. I mean, it didn't predict this actually happening. And I'm mind blown. Now, am I saying OpTic's going to run through everybody and win Champions? Not yet. You know, I think they're still the best team, but I think there's a lot of Valorant to be played. I think there's a long season and a lot of time left. Champions doesn't happen until October, November, I think, right? Maybe December. You know, it happened December last year. I'm pretty sure it's October this year. There was a lot of time for this season to unravel. You know what I mean? There's a lot of time for this. So what I'm just coming out here to say is that if you didn't see this coming, now you do. Now you better see brick by brick that what we're laying and what the green wall is doing. Because it's formidable, man. We have the best one-on-one player in the game in Ye. We have the best managers, esport owners in the game in Hex and Hastr0, the tandem of Hex and Hastr0. We have the best content creators in the game in Hitch and them. You know what I mean? OpTic is by far the greatest. Now, you might say, why are you saying we? Why are you saying we? Because OpTic has never been a team that's ever left out its supporters. And that's one thing I can always say. OpTic has done such a good job of not getting political, not saying things about certain things. And even if they're going to say something, you know, they kind of leave it up for interpretation. And that's what I've always respected about Hex. That's what I've always respected about Hastr0. Do I agree with everything they're doing? Absolutely not. I wouldn't say I agree with every little thing and every little marketing strategy or anything that they're doing. But in terms of competition, in terms of growing an esport, in terms of doing it the right way, they have done it all. And I, again, cannot stress this enough, that how satisfying it feels to finally say that we were right, that we're here. Because you guys, if you don't remember that video I made when X10 or MV lost to X10, how gut punching that was, I made that right after I watched it. It hurt. It hurt. That was pain that I hadn't felt as a supporter or somebody who watched esports in a long time. Watching OpTic lose is never fun. It's never fun because I put my all into it, because they put their all in it for me. So I want to always put my all in it and be behind them and support them as much as possible. I get really enthusiastic about my sports, as you should too. But at the same time, that low that we felt at Champions and this high that we feel at Masters, Man, it feels good. It feels good. All of NA, it feels good. It feels really good. And so I wanted to state that, just coming on here and bringing it out, also getting you guys back up to speed on this channel. I know this last video that I've done probably wasn't taken the best, but I always want to take constructive criticism and use it. Obviously, probably seeing the ratings or seeing things on YouTube channels doesn't give me a lot. I don't get a lot of feedback. But what I will tell you guys is this, is that if you go through the line of my work and you go through the line of, again, you can compare this to OpTic. Actions speak louder than words, guys. And I have been one of the most underrated YouTube channels to ever do this, for one. And number two, one of the most underrated coaches or people who do VOD reviews, because I simply stated everything that happened this tournament I had predicted long before it was going to happen. Almost everything spot on. Now, again, I didn't make a video in a while and I didn't call this tournament, so I'm not going to take credit for everything that happens in this tournament. There's no evidence of me doing this, even though there are people who can testify to me saying this. But you can check through all my Valorant videos and hear me say, this OpTic team, especially when they acquired Ye and Marv, said it's over. I said it's pretty much over. They might not do it in 1 or 2 tournaments, but they'll do it soon. And they're here. And now that they've gotten that confidence, I mean, when they lost at Berlin, I thought to myself, okay, they got the loss they needed. I didn't think that it would take the Champions loss to do this, but it did. They're here, and they're here to stay. I really truly think that. I can be wrong, you know what I mean? Predictions are just predictions, but I really genuinely think that they enjoy playing with each other. They talk shit. And that's one thing. I don't know what is up with this weird Valorant community and how weird people can be in this thing. It's surprising. It's almost like you guys forgot they're competing. They talk that shit and they back it up. They get in their head. There's a team that came out and was like criticizing them on Reddit and was like, oh my God, they're talking shit. We don't really do that. We think it's unnecessary. Well, okay, that works for you. Don't talk shit. But we going to, you know why? Because it works. It works. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's fun, man. It's all harmless, man. Come on, man. Dap up, shake up after it, call it even. You know what I mean? As long as you ain't throwing around no racial slurs or calling people bitches and shit, like, nobody cares. All right. But anyways, look, I'm not here to do a whole ranting type of thing. I just wanted to say that we called this, as humbly as possible, we called this. And this is my moment to sit here and go, we called it. You know what I mean? We called it. We'll take a little bit of gratification in that. But moving forward, all I wanted to tell you guys, we will be back. I will break down this whole tournament from start to finish. That is my promise to you. I will break them all down. I am focused on content. I have some Apex stuff that I want to handle. The Apex lane is coming up. The first lane in a long time. And I am not that big on Apex Esports because of no lands. Now that we get a land, we're going to see how this unfolds. We're going to see how it goes. And we'll talk more about it. But there's a lot of stuff with Apex going on. The new ranked leaks look good. We'll talk about that later. And I am really excited to get back to doing this. I know I say this a lot, but I am in a good mental space right now. Not just because OpTic won or anything. Not just because I was right, but because I truly am there. I was struggling with some things. And you know what I mean? It takes some hard work to get over them and a lot of faith. A whole lot of faith. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to start this back up. I'm ready to be on my grind. And I mean, I feel great. OpTic won. You know what I mean? It's a great. I got like a month and a half left of just saying this until like the next Masters. So I feel good about it. I like it. So thank you guys for tuning into this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How do you see the rest of the season unfolding? Are you excited that OpTic won? Are you in a EU, Japan? Shout out to the other regions. Again, we'll talk about that in another video. But man, Japan looked really nice. Asia looked really nice. And Brazil, right? Brazil, loud? Man, Brazil looked great. It kind of sucks that, our homies down in Central America didn't get to turn up as much as, we would have liked to see them, but they ran into OpTic, which is, it happens, right? It happens. So bless up as always. Thank you for coming to this video, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you sitting through my rant. If you sat through the whole thing, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I can't wait to keep pumping these out for you guys. Go green wall, baby. Brick by brick. We made it happen. You're Valorant Masters, Reykjavik champions, and we're coming from that throne when champions comes around. And I'll see you guys in the next.